San Francisco was founded in 1776. Spanish settlers established a fort and a mission which was named after St. Francis of Assisi. It outgrew those humble beginnings after the gold rush of 1849. Though the city was largely destroyed by the earthquake and fire of 1906, it recovered to become the centre of culture and commerce it is today. East meets West in Chinatown. The Asian influence is reflected in the local architecture. Boyish curiosity got the better of us when we found this banger on the sidewalk. And we took time out from exploring to send an important message back home. We caught a glimpse of the Emirates New Zealand boat preparing to challenge for the 34th America's Cup in San Francisco Bay. Pier 39, with its street entertainers, its restaurants and shops, is bustling with tourists. It's also home to a colony of Californian sea lions. Although they've always been present in the bay, they started making themselves at home here about 25 years ago. A Sunday stroll through Golden Gate Park. 1,017 acres of recreation grounds make it the perfect escape from city life. As we strolled around the gardens, I was reminded why San Francisco was the birthplace of flower power. Often compared with Central Park in New York, Golden Gate Park is actually 20% larger. You can't go far in San Francisco without being reminded how culturally diverse the place is. Thought to be the most crooked street in the world, this is Lombard Street. The 8 sharp turns were introduced to reduce the hill's natural 27% grade, which was too steep for vehicles and hazardous to pedestrians. We stayed in the Castle Inn, which was comfortable enough, but you had to sit on the landing to make use of the Wi-Fi signal. The Golden Gate Bridge was opened in 1937. It spans the Golden Gate Strait, a mile-wide channel that separates San Francisco Bay from the Pacific Ocean. We walked along a narrow footpath. On one side the busy freeway, and on the other the chilly and turbulent waters of the bay. Having walked the length of the bridge, the girls headed back into town for a spot of retail therapy, while Pete and I escaped to Alcatraz.
The first thing you want to learn when you hit Alcatraz is keep your mouth shut, walk with your back to the wall.
The Alcatraz cell house opened as a federal prison in 1934. Within these walls lived the country's toughest, most dangerous and most famous prisoners.
Well, here's a typical Alcatraz cell. Every one of them in this cell house is exactly like it. Had a middle tabletop and a little chair there, and that was about it. The cell was pretty barren.
5 feet wide, 9 feet long, and 7 feet high. That's what I call a little box.
One of their favourite privileges was the recreation yard. time to exercise outside, as well as getting books and mail, had to be earned. Prisoners who chose not to behave ended up in a harsher place, isolation. D Block was a prison within Alcatraz, the treatment unit. In May of 1946, an inmate named Bernie Coy, along with 5 accomplices, decided that they would escape for freedom. To escape, Bernie Coy knew that he needed the keys to the gun gallery. Coy used his homemade bar spreader.
He spread the bars apart, wide enough so that he could squeeze into the gallery.
None of the keys worked.
Lights! You sure you don't know what key opens its control box?
8 officers were captured and locked up in these cells.
He shot them in cold blood, one by one.
For 2 days, the Marines and correctional officers bombarded the cell house.
And we decided that the escapees were dead. We found them there in the utility quarters. They were firing their guns as they died.
My grandmother taught me how to crochet when I was a kid. So I taught a lot of guys how to crochet. Big tough guys sitting in there with a needle and crocheting.
If the wind was blowing from that direction to the rock, you could actually hear people. You could hear all the sounds that were coming from the free world. And I walked up there, and here's this good-looking girl. I knew who she was when I got a real good look at her, and when she said Jimmy, which was what she always called me, well, I knew it was my sis.
When they heard the escape siren, every officer on the island rushed here to report for duty. According to reports, 3 men had enlarged the vent openings in the back of their cells. The 3 men would have climbed these pipes to escape through the roof. The men were never found.
Lights went out around 9:30 at night, and that was it.
3 times a day, all the men in general population gathered here for 20-minute meals. This was potentially the most dangerous room in the entire cell house. After nearly 3 decades, 1,500 men had served time on the rock. By then, Alcatraz had served its own time, and in 1963 it was closed. Early the next day, we joined the queue for breakfast at this incredibly busy diner before heading out of San Francisco and on to Yosemite National Park. Yosemite National Park is renowned for its giant sequoia trees. Capable of growing to a height of 279 feet, sequoias are the world's tallest trees. If you can't get a path round a sequoia, you go through it. Yosemite is also home to spectacular granite cliffs, as well as clear lakes and streams and sparkling waterfalls.